I've literally had to refilm this video about 5 separate times because I'm so excited I keep accidentally losing my cool. But let's try and calmly discuss the massive leaks that have come out about Resident Evil 9. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm DreamcastGuy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So here we go. The first real leaks about Resident Evil 9 have come out. Now, we're going to talk about all this, but I want to begin with why this is definitely real. All of this is coming from Dusk Golem. It's my good friend Ryan. This guy is the best Resident Evil leaker of all time. He's also leaked a bunch of stuff about the Silent Hill 2 remake. This guy put out a bunch of information about Resident Evil Village years before it was released. He did a bunch of leaks talking about the spookiness of Resident Evil 4 Remake. I mean, the guy definitely is the real deal. And he's been talking about the fact that Resident Evil 9 is going to be perhaps one of the biggest Capcom projects of all time. It has the biggest development budget of any other game in the franchise. Now, this is especially insane because, honestly, Resident Evil just keeps selling more and more and more. I mean, it's interesting to think about the fact that not too long ago, Resident Evil was definitely in a bad place. After Resident Evil 6 very much damaged the brand, it kind of went dormant. Yeah, it's true we got a few random games like spin-offs such as Revelations and stuff, but for the most part, there was definitely a dormancy of Resident Evil until Resident Evil 7 completely took over the planet. This is one of the highest selling games ever done by Capcom, which is crazy because Capcom has been utterly killing it the last decade. And I don't think even they could have predicted that making a classic, spooky, first-person shooter version of Resident Evil would be so overwhelmingly popular. And then they decided to double down on that with Resident Evil Village, making it have even crazier monster design and that beautiful 9-foot-tall Dami Mommy. And that's what's so great about this, is that Capcom is being smart. They realize, okay, this is the moneymaker. Let's actually invest in our own success. Now, this is the other part of it that to me is kind of insane, and it doesn't really make sense on paper, but apparently it's true. This has been in full-blown development since 2018. That's been in development for 7 years because it's probably coming out in about 2025. We're probably going to get a reveal of it next year. Now, the weirdness of this is, I mean, clearly it's correct because Dusk Golem is very rarely wrong, but I think it's crazy because that amount of development. That means in the time that they've been making this, they started the Resident Evil 3 remake and finished it. They started the Resident Evil 4 remake and finished it and launched both of those. It's wild to think that this 7 years has been so jam-packed with whatever they're trying to cook up. Now, I trust this development process. 7 years sounds like a long time, or that it could be stuck in development hell. But I mean, let's keep in mind, they just released the Resident Evil 4 remake, and it's incredibly good DLC, this year, and it's considered to be one of the best ever. This is the best horror game of all time. God, that's crazy to think about that. After thousands have voted in our best horror game of all time, Resident Evil 4 Remake has won. I mean, that's pretty freaking wild to think about, but there it is. Now, there's an extra part of this that I think we need to consider, which is when they talk about the size of the budget, that doesn't necessarily mean the game is going to be 30 hours long or have like 20 billion side quests. I think we need to account for the fact that recently they announced they're working on a new game engine. The Reach for the Moon engine, which is the previous name RE engine, is now being replaced by something called REX. Apparently, it's going to be even bigger. It's going to be better at running assets. It's going to be more efficient. Now, already, even if you're not a turbo nerd like I am, you got to realize RE Engine is already freaking incredible. A lot of games run RE Engine on the Nintendo Switch, all the Monster Hunter games, stuff like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, a bunch of stuff runs in this engine, freaking Street Fighter 6, and all of them are buttery smooth. The fact that they're making the next engine simultaneously as this game, I think as good as it's going to be, it's also probably going to be a bit of a tech showcase. It's going to be them trying to explain, hey, this took long because we're trying to make it, well, more beautiful and run better than it ever has before. But the aspect of this that I feel like people are discussing the most is this little part right here. Resident Evil 9 will close some of the series threads while also opening new storylines that will take the series into a new direction. So, what could that possibly mean? A lot of people are assuming that this means that they're probably going to maybe retire Chris Redfield or retire Jill Valentine. A lot of the people that have been in the most games, personally, I love Chris and Jill, so I hope they keep coming back, but I do see people saying, I'm over Chris and Jill. I hope they'll focus on other characters. There's a lot of debate in the comments about which characters they want to see live or die, but I think unanimously, I do see a lot of specific love for Leon Kennedy. I do think it would be cool to see Leon come back, but people do need to realize that Resident Evil 9, it's said that it's going to sort of finish off the story bits that have been established in RE7 and RE8. They've already pretty much talked about, there's been a bunch of leaks and stuff that maybe we're going to finish off the idea of mold monsters or mold magic or whatever like that. We're going to see what the next bioweapon threat is. We fought the T-virus for a very long time. We've gone against Ganados. We've gone against Ouroboros. There has been a lot of different styles of monster creation inside of Resident Evil. But I guess now it's all about what comes next. This talk about taking the series in a new direction, to me, I'm happy about that. To me personally, I have a lot of trust in Capcom because they've done so much different stuff with Resident Evil, and it's all turned out pretty dang great. I mean, obviously, I'm a super fan of the franchise, and I've beaten them all multiple times and earned a bunch of platinum trophies, especially in all the Resident Evil remakes. But I think a lot of my trust comes from how they handled Resident Evil Village. I like the Resident Evil 2 remake and the 4 remake, but let's face it, those were kind of safe. Like consider it, they already had the blueprint for making a game, and they just made it better and bigger and cooler. But Resident Evil Village was a massive departure. Completely new setting, completely new opponents, completely new nemesises. I mean, just the amount of good ideas in Village. I replayed Resident Evil Village about 15 times, going through it on easy, Village of Shadows difficulty, getting the trophies, playing a bunch of Mercenaries mode. I was endlessly impressed by the fact that they were able to do so much with Resident Evil while still sticking to the heart. I love that Resident Evil continues to evolve, that Capcom has such a brilliant team of creatives that are able to just keep adapting and altering and pivoting, and all of it kind of lands. I kind of hope that there are a couple more leaks for Resident Evil 9 that kind of give us some hints as to where this is all going. Because honestly, the Resident Evil 8 leaks were incredibly fun. Hearing about freaking werewolves wearing body armor sounded ridiculous before it came out, but it all turned out to be real. It was fun to hear about the weirdness before we laid eyes on it. I'm ready for Resident Evil 9, but how do you feel about it? Are you ready for the future of Capcom? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and please, if you could, give this video a big like and keep dreaming. I'm a little bit having problems. They're still working on my roof, so if my videos are a little bit erratic for the next couple days, I'm filming this one actually at 5 p.m. Normally I don't film videos at 5 p.m., but what are you going to do? You got to do what you got to do. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.